Okay. So, chapters 25 through 33.
I jumped the gun and read an extra chapter, so oops. Oh,
It's
well.
fine. Chapters 25 through 33 of A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. It feels like it's been forever since we've been together because we recorded early last week.
Yes, and now we're recording a little late, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I had a lot to say this time around, and I had a lot of emotions going through.
Oh, yeah. I have quite a bit about chapter 25 and then chapter 26 as well. So we just dive right into the summer solstice.
Yes, let's do it.
It sounds wonderful. I'm sick of winter. I want a flower crown in my hair and I want to wear a muslin dress and just dance around outside.
I know, just have like a fairy bonfire.
Right?
Like,
Just drinking fairy wine and dancing in the will-o'-the-wisps. Like, what the hell?
Hey, let's do it. I don't care. Let's do it.
Right? And I love the one part on page 221, which are our page numbers still linked up now that you have? Okay. Page 221, where Feyre's like, oh, I'm hot now. And she's like rubbing on her body. Like, I never thought I would be able to feel anything but bones and muscle. And I was like, yeah, girl, get
Feel
it.
Yeah. On page 224, when she was, I think she was,
like Lucian.
I know. I just now that I'm rereading this, like at first I didn't really care for Lucian. I thought he was like an ass, but I also really liked Tamlin at this point.
Ew.
So now that I'm so now that I'm rereading it, I'm just like, nah, Lucian is king. Like,
yes, I love Lucian.
Tamlin is such a fucking tampon. Like,
yes,
go away.
Well, and then like the Witchberry story, like where she was like, I don't know whether to trust you or not because one time you told me the truth and the next time you told me the Witchberries were fine and they put me in an enchanted fucking sleep. Like, what?
That'd be me,
right?
Like, I'm Lucian. I'd be like, yeah, it's gonna be great for you.
And then he's like, ah, crap, Tamlin's gonna kill me, and I'm like, well, that's what happens when you play too much,
right? But also, here's the thing: why does Lucian have to do everything for?
Right?
Like, he does everything for Tamlin when it comes to protecting Feyre, and like, Tamlin should be doing it.
Which, like, I'm starting to get now that where we are, like, now that I've read some things, I'm like, oh,
yeah, like, let him. This is his life. Like, he never asked for somebody to come into his life. He never made this happen. So, like, let him go do his own thing. Tamlin, fucker, you want to protect her, you
part
do
of
it.
Your court. I mean, he is now, but like, he's not even. He wasn't even a part of the Spring Court originally. Right. Like,
here's
what?
the thing: he's an emissary for other courts. He's not an emissary for protection, and he's not a guard. That's not his job title. Do not make him do that.
Right. And like, so the will-o'-the-wisp things. I know I kind of jumped the gun and said something about that already. But like, holy fantasy bucket list. Oh yeah, dancing in a field of the will-o'-the-wisps. Like, what?
Right? What's it got to be with Tamlin? But like,
oh yeah, right? Not with Tamlin. I don't want to forget Tamlin, but like,
I'll do it by myself.
right? Just dancing in the field of the wisps in general. And then I literally said puke. I want to fall into the romance of the story, but I just really dislike Tamlin. It was the happiest moment of my life.
Every time she says my like specifically my High Lord, I'm like, God, why?
Yeah, it grosses me out. That's literally the last line of the chapter. It was the happiest moment of my life. And I wrote, it was the happiest insert retching noise moment of my life. Because just gross.
Sarah, like, you have plenty of things coming towards you. Wink, wink.
Also, like, yeah, we're going to circle back to this, but like I just need to know if Sarah J. Maas is like a big fan of the Beauty and the Beast, because that's what this book is. Like, his court gets
oh yeah, with the mask,
gets
enchanted,
cursed because of him, and it's not necessarily his fault, just because, never mind, we'll get back to that. He didn't want her stank ass cooch, but anyway, we'll get back to that here in a minute.
Anyways, I'm just frustrated because like Lucian's doing everything that he should do as like a person who's like a part of a court, but then he's just like, Tamlin, if you don't want her doing something, like, you fucking do it.
Well, I'm also starting to understand that a little bit too, though, because like his fate depends on her too.
Right. Like, I don't know.
It's insane.
Anyways.
then, sorry, do you have anything else for
Nope,
chapter 25?
that's all I got.
And then chapter 26, they're like, and Lucian's like, I'm trying to eat. And I'm like, yeah. Like, hello, there's someone else here. Stop making eyes at each other across the breakfast table.
I know. And like, here's the thing. I used to be a big fan of PDA, but then I realized like, God, that's uncomfortable. If you're like, as the person in the PDA, it might not be as uncomfortable, but like other people watching you, that's just weird.
Well, and like, especially if you're in a private room and there's only one other person in the room. Like, now I feel like a creep. Like, I feel like I'm doing something wrong when I'm not.
Yeah,
You're
like
just
I'm in there,
like,
and they don't realize I'm in there behind
being
a
gross.
tapestry or something. Yeah, so I don't know. I just, anyways,
So page 232. Let me see what I was. Okay, solution. They're talking about the blight and how the Winter Court contacted Lucian to let him know that it took 24 of their younglings. The quote, it just burned through their magic, then broke apart their minds. No one in the Winter Court could do anything. No one could stop it once it turned its attention toward them. Like, holy shit. It just, like, the idea of it just ripping apart someone's mind.
Without, like, just imagine sitting there watching a child. Nothing, like, you don't see anything on the outside, but you just see the anguish on the inside of what's happening to them. Do you have any idea who did that?
I do now. Chapters later. We've read that part now, haven't we?
Well, it's in this chapter. Page 234, Rezand comes in.
Yes.
Finally!
Okay.
I'm so excited. I love him so much.
I know you do. And as I'm reading, like, these chapters, I'm like, what the fuck, Emily?
Hold on. Tamlin might not have character development, but Rezand does. And he's got really great reasons that will be later revealed in the second book.
I hope so. Because I even wrote that somewhere in here. Okay, so first of all, when they feel him coming, like when everything goes quiet and they know he's on his way, and Tamlin's just sitting there posturing, like picking at his nails, while meanwhile Feyre's like being glamored by Lucian again. Lucian's doing everything, and Tamlin's just like fucking chilling.
Well, here's the thing. I feel like, no offense to Lucian, he is like a High Lord's son kind of thing, and he could. Well, he's not necessarily going to be High Lord of that court because of his other brothers, but like, Tamlin's got more power. Why the fuck isn't he doing it?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Tamlin, get off your ass. Be a man.
Well, especially because, like, it's super offensive to glamour another fairy. So, like, now this dude's pissed at Lucian. Right. Like, also, so, okay.
I feel like that's something that Tamlin would do, and, like, Rezand would be like, oh, okay, of course Tamlin did it. But, like, Lucian...
Yeah, and now he's like, oh, you little...
No, prick.
Right.
Actually, I don't know what he said, but he was not nice about it.
No, he was not. And and he set the head on the spike.
Mm-hmm.
And then they talking about Amarantha, and I'm like, who the fuck is Amarantha? And then I said, no wonder Em likes the Night Court, because I was reading and I was like, oh, he's from the Night Court.
Man, I like the Night Court even before Rezand, but man, he just solidified it.
Right? And then I said, oops, he noticed the glamour. Also, he's a dick, and not in a good way.
Suave. Yeah. But yeah, Amarantha, we have a new character name.
We have a new name, but this is the mysterious she.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote, what doesn't she know on page 238, but I'm trying to remember who I was talking about. I read all of these chapters today. So I'm trying to remember what different parts of the book I was talking about when I wrote these things.
I just think it's cool that we finally have like a name to like the character, and now we can start thinking like, well, if the blight or whatever was able to rip through the minds of the younglings, does that mean Amarantha could actually have gone into Feyre's mind?
Ooh.
And like had those nightmares of her like having a hand grasping around it? Or could it be the person holding up the cauldron? Is it just her mind like stress, you know?
Right. So it says, okay, so is it Rezand? Rezand says, that won't do you any good anyway. If you were wise, you'd be screaming and running from this place, from these people. It's a wonder that you're still here, actually. My confusion must have been written across my face, for Rezand laughed loudly. Oh, she doesn't know, does she? Doesn't know what?
I don't...
Well. And then I feel like I might have found out, like, when as the chapters kept going, but, like, I'm also... I was really confused at that point, because at that point you don't know about all the details of the curse.
Right. Well, here's something else too. So like, I mean, kind of like a little bit before that, when he was like, "Oh, who's your guest?" and then he goes, Lucian of all people, my betrothed," and like Tamlin didn't pipe up or anything, and I was like, that's a weird thing to say.
Yikes.
Especially when you know how Tamlin feels, or if he feels a damn thing. I don't know. I think he's still selfish. Regardless. Anyways,
And then my next thing that I wrote was, "What a disgusting, self-indulgent, evil git." I was talking about Rhysand because I just so far am like not impressed. I'm like, ew, what a jerk. Everything about him is just gross.
And then he's just like, Tamlin, grovel. But here's the thing. Groveling, not attractive to me.
No, and like, what did it do? It didn't do any good.
Right. Like,
they end up killing that poor girl.
Claire Better.
Remember
Better.
that name? Yes, I do remember that name because we talked about it. And like,
Claire Better.
Like, shit.
You know, but it's just, it's off-putting to like grovel like he did. Like, I don't, honestly, you make me grovel, I'm just gonna sit there and be like, fucking kill me. I don't care at this point. Like, I am not going down like that. If you think I am, like, you are insane.
I mean, yes, but also like, if it were Brit and somebody was like going to hurt her or kill her, I probably would too. Especially if I knew that there was nothing else I could do.
True. I guess I'm kind of coming from the point of like, we see all of that happening.
Yeah.
Like, what makes them, and like, they've done horrible things in the past. What makes them think that that's like, they're just probably going to do it just for fun.
Right.
And
they're
going
to
go
do
ahead
it anyway.
And
yeah.
And it's like, I just gave you that satisfaction. You're still going to take it away from me. So I think I go into that situation knowing they're going to take it away from me anyways. I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of watching me grovel to help them when you're not even going to bother listening. I think that's where I come from.
Right. I think that's a Slytherin in you, maybe.
Oh, well.
I don't know. But then...
Hiss, motherfucker.
On page 240... I was like, gross. His character must really improve to redeem himself from that show of toxic masculinity.
Rhysand?
Yes, it was just gross. I was very grossed out by his character in this chapter. And like, I know he has to somehow redeem himself because I know he's your favorite, but
ew. Yeah, I hated, like, honest. I mean, at this point I like really like Tamlin.
I don't like Tamlin.
And yeah, at this point I really like Tamlin, and I think that's like maybe the toxicity of like my past relationships or even like childhood trauma, because I was like a-okay with that toxicness. Like, I like fell back into like the routine of things and like being a-okay with it.
Right.
And then I started realizing how toxic it was, and I was like, how could I be okay with that?
Right. Like, the whole thing was just, I don't like Tamlin either, but this chapter with Rhysand, I was like,
did you think Tamlin was better than him?
I mean, no, but I'm not very impressed. Like, Tamlin to me is like a flobber worm. like he's just there chilling. He's kind of nothing. Like, I mean, he's not nothing, but he's not great either. But like, then here comes Rhysand, who is like a blasted Groot.
Sure. There you go.
Like, ew. Okay, anyway, that's all I have for chapter 26. I was just super unimpressed with him, and I was really grossed out while reading the whole chapter.
Yeah. So yeah, in like chapter 26 too, on page 241, when he asks for her name, I feel like at this point he's already been in her mind. Like, he knows her name and just was like, Claire Better. All right, that's your name. Cool, going with it. Bye. And then just like,
and then like, still, I mean, I know we're not to that part yet, but like, still goes and attacks her family and takes her, like, just to fuck with Feyre, I feel like, at that point, because he was already in her mind, so he knows what the fuck her name is.
Or was he ordered by Amarantha? Because apparently at this point we know that Rhysand is Amarantha's whore. For reasons unknown, however, we know
that's true.
I just want to ask Rhysand, how do you feel being Amarantha's whore when she's lusting after some other guy? Like, what if you guys are like having sex and then she's just like, oh, Tamlin. Like, not that I'm in that situation, but I'd be pissed. I'd be like, bitch, it's me. you want me to be your whore, then that's fine. But you go and scream out my name and not his.
Yes, and like that whole thing is so petty. I can't even.
Anyways.
I have things written down about that later, but yes. Okay, chapter 27?
Yeah, I put on I got something on 242. Do you have anything before that?
No.
All right, I put on there like, man, this guy needs therapy. That anger is out of control.
Yeah.
Like, I get pissed off and mad, but I don't want to destroy things. Maybe. I don't know. I guess
Not
it
to that
depends.
extent, but I guess I'm not like a beast fairy either.
Yeah, like where I have the ability to change into like Wolverine and just destroy everything. I don't know. But
yeah.
anyways, he needs therapy. That shit is out of control. Like
Yes.
something needs. I know you're traumatized, but like, damn, Faye's traumatized too, and like she just got the life threatened from her.
And you being in here acting a fool is not helping anything.
Right. Like Lucian is doing a much better job at like consoling her by like I actually I think he just walked away and just like left. But still, like he showed more compassion and more resolve.
Yes.
Than Tamlin, fucker. Anyways.
And then on page 243, oh fuck now. You tore me away from my family, changed my life. Now you want to just send me back? And at this point, she doesn't know that they're like rich again. She just thinks she's being sent back to the life that she had before.
Yeah, and all she knows is that they're being taken care of, but not to what extent.
And like, fuck you, Tamlin. Like, after everything that's happened, everything that happens on the summer solstice when they kiss and everything's all like,
well, and here's the thing too,
lovey.
like you spent so long convincing me that there is no other way around whatsoever this treaty thing, and how fucking dare you go back on your word and say, just kidding, I'm taking the fall for it. No, you fucking take the fall for it to begin with.
Yes. Like, what? And like, I understand he can't tell her about the curse, he can't tell her any of that because of whatever magic that's happening, but like, on what planet do you think sending her back unprotected is going to be good for her? At least give her some ash arrows or something if you're sending her back. Like, he just sends her back unprotected. Like, that's just going to work. Like, they're not going to find her.
Right. Like, if you know where, like, Ash Arrow Grove is or something along those lines, fucking go.
Well, and, like,
get her some.
Rhysand knows her scent and stuff now. So, like,
he can easily find her.
He will find her.
He fucking found her a long time ago.
Right. Like,
and he didn't know who she was at that time. Like, come on.
Yeah. Like, it's just...
Anyways.
And then, like, oh, he's pushing her away. Let's have sex. That solves everything.
Face palm. On 246 is when, like, things get really heated and they start, like, getting, like, really down and heavy.
I have a quote from 246 as well.
So, basically, they start having sex, and that's just kind of how it goes. And, you know, during the situation, I know, like, life or death, I feel like my body would be in, like, a fight mode, not a fuck me mode.
Right.
Like, I would not be all, let's have sex. I'm about to die. Like, I'm ready to pounce. I'm ready to go, like, die fighting.
Absolutely mortified because Rhysand just plucked all these thoughts out of my head and said them out loud to you.
Like talons. It literally described having talons like at your brain.
Yes, and like
scraping against
says like, oh, you dreamed about his hands on your thighs and like all of this stuff. Okay,
which, you know, knowing about what happens in the second and third book, I'm just like, how did that feel, Rhysand, to say that out loud?
Okay, so then, like, she's like, don't stop. And he's like, if we keep going, I won't be able to stop at all. That's exactly the point. Like, that's why I said don't stop. Like, hello, duh. That's kind of the point. That's what I wrote down because I was like, really, really, Tamlin?
I would also be like, if I happen to want to stop and you don't stop, then I'm going to be quite pissed off. But I'm also watching 13 Reasons Why, so, like, again. So maybe that's just... coming from that, I don't know, but like, anyways, and
then like, oh wait, I'm on page 248 with my next thing. Do you have something else in between?
Yeah, I just read it, page 247. He literally is like, we moved together, unending and wild and burning, and when I went over the edge the next time, he roared and went with me. Every time I hear roared, I just think rawr.
Rawr.
all I could think of. Just imagine having sex and he just goes, rawr.
Oh my god. No, I was imagining like a full-on beast. And like at this point she mentions like his claws are out and his fangs are out. Like, bitch, this is a full-on beast that you're having sex with right now. What is
Bestiality.
happening? And she's just fine with it. She's just like, don't stop. Oh god.
Yeah, I definitely did not think roaring like a beast. I went like emo scene kid.
Rawr. Oh my god. And then he's like telling her like all of this is happening. He's telling her he's sending her back home and like all of this. And instead of letting her enjoy the little bit of time that she has left with him, he puts her to fucking sleep.
I know, like maybe if he didn't do that, maybe she would have said I loved you.
Right. Like
Maybe.
would have solved fucking everything. But instead, his dumbass puts her to sleep and is gone when she wakes up. Listen here, motherfucker. I was pissed.
If you love a girl like that, don't fucking do that. And that brings a good point. 248. I love you. No, I feel like he didn't really even get to know her despite the months she's been there, because a lot of the time it was I was out in the garden painting and like this guy was off doing this and Lucian was off doing this. Or I feel like she spent more time with Lucian than she ever did with Tamlin.
And like I feel like he loves the idea of her. He loves the idea of breaking the curse.
Right. And I think that's like from the get-go when I said I feel like he's using her because like he wants to break this curse, which we haven't even got to yet. Because you don't really know this as of yet, but like,
right. I keep skipping ahead because I was like, what?
It's fine. But like, I don't know. I can't get over the fact my idea and instinct is saying he used her and didn't actually love her because of the whole curse that he wanted to break. And I just feel like it's like that innate like
survival instinct.
Right.
Like,
and I also feel like at some point it turns into possession.
Like he might believe he loves her because he needs her, but does he actually love her or does he just need her?
Right. I just feel like at some point it turns into like a possession, like she's mine, no one else's, no one else can have her.
Yeah, and he's super creepy about it.
And I mean, whether that happens yet or not is, something completely different, but
I literally wrote, let me enjoy this little time I have left with you, you absolute ass.
Seriously, though. Like,
right.
Damn, you want her to love you? Like, fucking her and leaving her and by herself and, like, putting her to sleep so, like, you can't spend any more time with her is fucking a dick move.
Yes. Yes.
Am I the asshole? Yes.
Absolutely.
Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I just struggle with him thinking like, oh, I love you. No, I feel like you're trying to get her to love you, and then when you finally have the opportunity, she has the opportunity to say it. I think she's like, I don't think I should say it because XYZ, and it's
because he's sending her away. If
Right.
you really loved me, would you send me away to protect me? No. Especially because he doesn't protect her. He just sends her.
Right.
He puts her into an enchanted sleep and sends her back home to her family, where anyone could come across the wall, specifically anyone associated with Amarantha, clearly could come across the wall and get her. Like, yeah. I just don't understand.
Because in later chapters, you'll find out that they were premeditated, essentially. Like, she has the ability to cross this wall.
Right.
Left and right to do this, and has been for however long she's been around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all I have for chapter 27.
Me too. Chapter 49, or chapter 28, page 249. I like Alice.
I know, I do too.
I just like Alice.
See, like, I always thought when I first, like, heard about her, I was like, man, she's like a plump black lady, like, sassy, saucy, fat, and happy. Like, that's all I could think of. And then when I found out, like,
she looks like a tree,
I was like, whoa. I was like, hold on, she was described white.
Right.
So I was like, well, I guess you can be white and still, like, act this way. That's fine. But, like, that's not what I imagine. I prefer this.
Right? And then she's a tree. It's fine.
I know.
Page 250, Lucian gets it. What did Lucian get? What was I talking about? Hold up.
Oh, I think he understands, like, I think he called her or him, like, an idiot or something like
that. Oh,
that.
yeah. Lucian's like, I thought you were smarter than this. That's what he says.
Yeah. But was he talking to Tam about that, or was he talking to Farah?
I think he was talking to Tamlin because he's sending her away. Like, and I actually wrote down,
Well, because it said, because he's like, I thought you were smarter than this. And she goes, goodbye to you too, I said. Friend indeed. It wasn't my choice or even my fault. And then Lucian looks at Tam and goes, you're not even going to give her a few more days, just a few, before you send her back to that human cesspit. And I don't think he actually realized. I don't know if he's calling the human world a cesspit or the fact that like where she was living a cesspit.
Right. Well,
Which
and
makes
like,
her probably think, oh fuck, like I'm gonna go back to starving.
right. And I mean, I get it on Lucian's point. Like, you've got like what, 3 days? We find out in a couple chapters. There's like 3 days
Mhm.
until the curse, the 49 days is up, or 49 years is up. So like 3 more days. What is it?
You could have said I loved you right in there.
Right.
You
She
would
would
know.
have if he had not put her to fucking.
You not sent her away, put her to sleep after y'all had sex,
Gosh.
and then tried. I don't know, whatever. Anyways,
Also, I'm like, these noble self-sacrificing idiots, Tamlin and Feyre, both would be Gryffindors, and I do not mean that as a compliment.
see, yeah, and I feel like Rhysand is a Slytherin because of his maybe not character development, but like the way
His ambition.
yeah, like he is very cunning. He does things not necessarily out of like spite for other people or like to get him a one up. I mean, I think he does it for the greater good, and he always has a plan. And that plan is the way he plans is very Slytherin. Like Gryffindors are just like fuck it, let's go, like guns blazing,
And they're
kick
so
down the door.
noble, and like half the time, if they would open their fucking eyes for 5 minutes, they would be able to solve. Like, if Harry were a Ravenclaw, their books would have ended in like book 2. Like, but
Sure.
because he's a fucking Gryffindor, he's so noble and self-sacrificing. Like, the Goblet of Fire would have been so much shorter if he had been a Ravenclaw and not a Gryffindor. Like, oh, I gotta get all the people out of the lake like a dumbass because anyway. I don't mean it as a compliment. I'm not. One of my best friends is a Gryffindor, but I am not a Gryffindor, and I think they're stupid. They're very.
Once upon a time, I like craved being a Gryffindor, and I got
Ugh.
so pissed off every single time. So like Pottermore, I took that test like 8 times, and I would make up random, like I would delete my account, I would redo it, and I'd change it up. It did not matter. Like there were so many ways I could like mix up what I wanted because I was always like two on like each question. There was always two things I wanted, and I was like, oh well, I wonder if I did this one and this one and this one and that one. It didn't matter. I was Slytherin every time.
I'm a
So
Ravenclaw, if you couldn't tell.
So I was just like, whatever, I'm just gonna go ahead and go with it. And then I like actually really, really liked it. I started reading more about it and like not made it based on what the books and the movies made it about. So I actually really like it, and I'm very happy to be a Slytherin.
Slytherin was my second. Like, I'm a Ravenclaw, but like the next one down was Slytherin.
I'm Gryffindor after that, but I'm not like the self-sacrificing kind of thing. I'm just like you're stupid.
Yeah,
we can think this through and make a better option for everyone.
Yes, like what? I just don't understand the stupid nobility and like just self-sacrificing for no reason. Like, it was unnecessary. Some of what they do, they go out of their way to be brave and like noble, and it's unnecessary.
Right. So on page 251, there is a quote, not a quote, but like a section that says, so Tamlin smiled at me one last time. I love you, he said, and stepped away. I should say it. I should say those words, but they got stuck in my throat because of what he had to face, because he might not find me again despite his promise, because beneath it all, he was an immortal and I would grow old and die. And maybe he meant it now, and perhaps last night had been as altering for him as it had been for me, but I would not become a burden to him. I would not become another weight passing upon his shoulders. So I said nothing as the carriage moved, and I did not look back as we passed through the manor gates into the forest beyond. She didn't say it, but I also kind of wonder if she ever actually loved him, or, cared about him in the way she thinks she cared about him.
Right. Like, I definitely think she cared about him, but did she truly love him, or did she think she loved him because all of those noble self-sacrificing bullshit things he did
mixed
her
with Stockholm syndrome?
Right. Like that's what she would have done in his position for someone she cared about.
Mm-hmm.
So she's taking that as love when really it's just him trying to break a curse and her being trapped.
Right. And I also kind of think too that I kind of wonder if he, maybe not necessarily like the self-sacrificing let it go kind of stuff, but even like he absolutely hated his father having slaves and all of that. So like maybe he let her go because he felt like she was a slave.
Which,
And
I mean, honestly.
right, well, in the way he's treating her too is like very slave like. I mean, not necessarily slave like, but like very prisoner. Like, you can't do any of this stuff. You're
Right.
here, you're human, but you can't do any of this stuff. And it had like nothing to do with like what is like happening nowadays. Like, she's forced to stay here in Prythian. Like, let her be. If she wants to
Right.
drink the wine, let her drink the wine.
Let her do what she wants to do,
Right.
because
But like controlling that is
well, and
very
like the crazy thing is, like, he says all this, like, in the beginning, you're free to go wherever you want in Prythian, but then, like, she's not, though.
right.
Because when she does try to leave to follow the whatever that thing was, the puka or whatever, anyway, the thing that
Right.
like the shapeshifts. When she did try to leave to follow it, he was like, "Are you an idiot?" Like, and didn't let her leave. Which I realized he was saving her life, but like also,
Well, and then when you think about it too, at that time you didn't realize that she is needed
right
to break this curse, and so he's like, "Fuck, now I gotta like care for her and do whatever." But also, it, whatever.
Also
Terrible
finding
person.
out that her family was more than taken care of.
Oh, right.
Like, oh,
Elaine saying, "You could sleep in a different bedroom every night." It's like,
right.
damn.
Like, now they have like a whole mansion and like
I want that.
what the hell?
I
And
feel
then
like
at the end of that chapter, she's like, "Oh, the cereal told me not to leave the High Lord's side. I shouldn't have left."
my High Lord.
Bitch. Now you want to follow the cereal's directions?
Here, okay, so I had something about that, but not in this chapter. I don't know where I put that. I think you like skipped ahead.
Did I?
Yeah, because I don't have anything, but I did. I did write this down. I thought, I don't know. If we didn't, that's fine.
That was the end of chapter 28. That's all I got for chapter 28.
Okay. So page 254, the sisters are back. Nesta and Elaine are back into
Yes.
the whatever. Absolutely love them. They are great people, character wise.
Yes.
On page 254, they talk about, so they see like Nesta is basically talking to them, and like you can just see how she's thinking and what she's like going through her head. And let me tell you, she is a cold, methodic thinker.
Yes.
That is so dangerous. And I feel like when she comes, like when she re-enters back into like the stories later on, I feel like that kind of leads up to like her fate of what happens. And I'm just like, it's just weird because it's like I feel like it's foreshadowing, whether it is or not, whether that's confirmed by Sarah J. Maas. I think it's foreshadowing, and I think it's actually like really really cool to see. She's always been like this, and then now later on, like this happens to her, and now she's just an even bigger like concern.
I just find it so interesting, which that doesn't happen in chapter 29 or chapter 28.
That's all I have for chapter 28 anyway. So.
But I think it doesn't happen in chapter 29 either. But like, the glamour didn't work on her.
Exactly.
She still remembers everything.
Like, she's smart as fuck.
Right. Like, what the heck? So chapter 29, the biggest gift I feel like Tamlin gave her family was the partial healing of her father.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, the money and the house and the taking care of them and all that, but like, I feel like that kind of brought her father back to life a little bit, like, because he was so depressed and everything. I mean, still, total bum. Like, fuck you, bro. You have 3 daughters and you don't even try to take care of them.
Right, and it's like you let the depression take a hold.
Right. Which, like, trust me, I get
I get it.
I'm all kinds of medicated. I got you.
like,
but like, I feel like it's kind of like the mom friend override. I like to call it, like, where like I'm anxious to do the thing, but if someone else is anxious to do the thing, then I can do the thing.
Exactly. So like, I absolutely hate calling anybody.
Yes.
I hate making appointments. I hate doing anything. But like the moment my friend is like super anxious and like starting to have a panic attack about it, I'm like, bitch, give it to me. I will call them up. Like, we at the bar and you want this dude to like have your number, and you're absolutely terrified because rejection sucks and toxicity and like dating culture is terrible. I get it. I will do it for you. I wouldn't be able to do it for myself, but I got you. I can do it for you.
Yes. Exactly. That's yes.
Because we build each other up. That's what happens. Anyways.
So my point is with saying that is I feel like in that situation, if you had 3 daughters, like, I don't know what it's like to be disabled. I mean, other than mentally, but like, I I feel like you would overcome that a little bit to take care of them, at least to make sure that they're okay. Maybe not to show them love, maybe not to do any kind of like
Just to
family building,
survive.
but to keep them alive. So you're, what was she, 13, 14 at the
She
time
was 13, I think,
that
13 or
she
14.
started hunting? So you're 13-year-old didn't
No,
have
she was
to.
like 9.
Oh, right, because she learned, yeah.
She learned a lot of more stuff at like 14.
She was just so young, and to send her off into the forest instead of getting your shit together
Right.
kills
Also,
me.
like, terrible of mom to like put all of that weight on her. Like, honestly, I would
Yes.
probably put that on my husband or like eldest
Right,
kid.
like on Nesta.
She's a cold-hearted bitch. Like, put it on her. She'll be
Right,
fine.
she's got this. But also, like, I'm surprised that Feyre can come back and sit here and talk about the socialite season and all of that and not just want to puke after being to Prythian and like knowing, seeing everything she's seen and knowing everything she knows, and how she can come back and just sit there and chatter with Elaine about all this like inconsequential stuff
Right.
is insane to me.
Well, and I also think that because Elaine has like the specific kind of optimism that maybe it's like easy to fall back in, and I would love that optimism. I am such a pessimistic person. And I think that's just trauma based and maybe like childhood based, whatever. I don't give a shit what it is. That's what I am. Very pessimistic, and that's okay.
Yeah, I've had to work really hard at being optimistic and
Yeah.
not looking at the worst of things.
And sometimes you're just tired.
Yeah.
Like, you're just tired of being optimistic because, like, you know, the world is shit.
Because it takes such effort.
Yeah.
Like, it really takes effort to be an optimist.
Well, it's like you hear about all this stuff, like, in the news, like, with what's happening in, like, Ukraine and all of that, and you're
Oh
just
my
like,
gosh.
this is terrible. Like, you know, this is happening to other people, and, like, you know, it's not happening to you, so you should count your blessings. But also, like, I'm an empath. I feel for those people.
Well, and not only that, but like, I don't know if y'all know this about the US, but we are horrible about minding our business. So like with all this
Yeah.
going on, we finna jump right on in. We gonna go help. And like, to stop World War III from happening, or to stop like Russia taking over the world, great, let's do that. But I'm a feminist and I think that everyone should be equal, but I'm not going to, I will break my own leg. Y'all think I'm crazy. I'm not going. They don't want me.
I wouldn't pass the mental test.
They don't, yeah, they don't want me no way because of my mental state. Like they don't, and I'm obese. Like they don't want me no way. But
I got asthma.
right, like they not coming for me. But like
This bitch can't run.
yeah,
She's not smart enough to fly a plane.
but there are people that I care enough about that could get drafted, and I'm like, no, we need to keep our noses the hell out of it. What are you doing?
Right. Like, I don't know.
And then with the social media, like it's everywhere. Every time I get on Facebook, it's like,
there's a side note, getting off on a tangent, but there's this thing that I don't know where I found it, but I like saw it at school one day, and it's called Robot Chicken. It's very, very old Adult Swim.
yes,
They did something about World War II, where it's like all these like, it's called Little Hitler is what it's called.
Oh my gosh, Little Hitler!
And they, like, for those who don't know, spoilers, it's a child, like all these kids, all these countries and like people are children, and it's like Little Hitler, such a scam. And they're just like, Little Hitler, where's little Pulaski's desk? I don't know. And it's like he invaded Poland, like he took over Poland, so that's his desk now. And like after a few like scenes, you see Hitler surrounded by all these desks because he's taken over Europe. And then there's USA with his little juice box like kicking back, like I don't give a fuck. All of a sudden Japan comes out of nowhere and knocks his juice box off, and he goes, now it's my problem. And it's like a funny take on history, and it's like,
yes,
that's what I think is happening. And like the
yes.
US stayed out of it until like they fucked us over.
Until it affected us, we stayed out of it.
And not that, I mean, that was World War II, of course that was going to happen, but also like after World War I and the Great Depression, I think they were just trying to like not get involved in anything.
Which is fair, like I get it. And you know, we've been at war, I feel like, my entire life.
Yeah.
So
we've been in war for like 15 years prior to my life.
Right. Like I feel like we're constantly at war, but like this is gonna be a big one.
Yeah. But anyways, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of empathy for shit like that. And I wouldn't be able to stand around and like let it happen. Like I don't have the funds, the means, or by any means to go over there and help out. But like,
yeah.
I mean, coming from like a small area, I feel like I would be able to like kick ass and do this because I see the struggle that everyone else is going through. and I can like try my hardest or whatever. I don't know.
Solidarity.
But anyways, so yeah, I don't know. I just wish I had Elaine's optimism. I mean, the world is just a shit place, and it's very hard to be like, you can't, it's very hard to not think about it. And like you can get desensitized to it and be like, yeah, that's happening right now, whatever. I'm gonna go back to TikTok. But
half of TikTok is all about it too. Like, I don't know how it's just everywhere.
Right. And
which is, I mean, it should be. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, like, I don't want to see that. Like, it should be everywhere. It's a big news. It's a big thing happening right now. But it is hard to stay optimistic and to stay positive.
Right. Which,
going on.
You know, start talking about our mental health state of mind within living in this world. Anyways, but anyway, yeah. So I'm jealous.
Holy tangent.
Yeah. I'm hella, you know,
jealous of her optimism.
Yeah. Like, she's very naive, and like that's where the optimism comes from. The more aware you become, the less like naive you become. But also, anyway,
which is why the educated are more depressed. I'm just saying. So page 258, Elaine is like, Nesta tried to visit you, and I'm like, what? She did? Why? Because this is before I realized that Nesta
didn't get glamored.
Didn't forget everything and doesn't buy the glamour. So like, then on page 259. I'm like, did Tamlin not realize how depressed Feyre would be? Like, she's not painting. I'm getting New Moon, Ella, and Ella, good Lord, Edward and Bella vibes. Like, he like sent her away and is having no contact with her, and she's like getting depressed. She doesn't want to paint. She doesn't want to eat. Food tastes like ash in her mouth. Like,
which makes me wonder: is the land fertile differently with like magic and makes it taste yummy? Is it just magic in the air? Is it just fermented,
or is it because she's depressed? Like, what is it really like?
Anyways,
that's all I had for chapter 29.
Yeah, that's all I had too. So for chapter 30, I'm gonna go to a ball. Like, during this chapter, we're talking about like how she's getting a ball in her honor for coming back or whatever, and it's like, I'm gonna go to a ball. I'm gonna dress up, maybe not in like the 1800s style like get up, but I definitely want to like get dressed up in a ball gown and just be like flitting about the dance floor because, you know, whatever. I'm gonna dress up. That's all I want to do. I absolutely enjoy dressing up for whatever reason. I could just be sitting on my couch, but like, let me put on like a dress and like makeup and call me happy.
I do too. We should just get dressed up and go to Walmart one day.
All right.
Just randomly. Let's go to Walmart.
Shit that happens at Walmart. You never know. Anyway, I saw someone dressed up like Tarzan, like no shirt, like loincloth and everything, like in like dreads, like a wig, like
that looked like dreads.
Yeah. And I was just like, I guess that's what you get for living in a college town and like going to Walmart, like the Walmart that's in the college area.
Breakfast
like
club.
Exactly. Well, it was at night. It was like 9 o'clock at night. It wasn't morning.
Pre-game for breakfast club.
I don't know what it was, but I just saw him walk in and I was like, okay. Well, what happened to no shoes, no shirt, no service? I guess it doesn't matter at Purdue. Whatever. Anyways, listen. In chapter 30, because we find out that like shit doesn't get past Nesta, like she is a beast and a force to be reckoned with. Like, do not fuck with her. I would be absolutely terrified if she was my sister. I know like Feyre thinks that her and Nesta are like one and the same. I don't think so.
2 sides of the same coin.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Honestly, I think Nesta is 10 times more scarier. Like,
oh yeah, Nesta's a badass. Feyre's like,
Yeah, and I honestly think Nesta could have, protected the family just as well as Feyre did, if not better.
Yeah,
because I mean, she was able to read and write. Like, she could actually do more things than just hunt. But
well, and like even now at the beginning of this chapter, Feyre is sacrificing her own happiness and her own like wants and needs for everyone else's happiness because she knows that like the ball is going to make her father and Elaine happy. So she doesn't actually want the ball.
Right.
But she's doing it for their sake. And then on page 263, she says, it was hard not to dwell on that shadow in my heart, the shadow that trailed my every step. I haven't felt like painting since I'd arrived, and that place inside me where all those colors and shapes and lights had come from had become still and quiet and dull. Okay, that's depression, sweetheart. That's grief and depression. You are grieving and you're depressed, and that's why all of the light has gone out of your life. Like, I can remember, so when I was in high school, My best friend Mindy and I were in choir together. We sang together all the time. Music was like our bonding thing and our passion. And then when we were 20, when she was 22, I was 21, she passed away from melanoma. And like I stopped singing. I didn't like music. I didn't want to listen to music. Like,
It's like the things that you share with that person or whatever, it just goes away. Like, you just, it reminds you so much of that person. Like when my mom
yeah.
passed, because she was such a huge Disney fan, and that like Disney had like evolved in my life and it has become one with me. And like I couldn't listen to Disney music. I couldn't watch any like movies, any TV shows that had anything remotely near Disney,
Mhm.
anything like that for like a few months.
Yeah. And like I feel like that's what's happening here. Like Tamlin gave her the ability and the time and the materials to really paint and like
Hmm.
follow her passion. And now all of a sudden he's been ripped away from her. And like she gave him all of her paintings when she left. Like it just, that's depression and
Hmm.
grief. That's what's happening there.
Yeah. Uh, Claire better.
Oh, Claire.
That poor girl. We don't know the fate of her yet. We just know that her family was burnt to a crisp.
Yeah. Ooh.
So, Claire Better is a family friend of Elaine's and Nesta's, or at least they were when they were like high society. And they like came back when they came back to high society, they became friends again. But so basically, there's talk about the town, and like the family talks about how this, like the poor Betters, like their house went up in flames, all the servants, all the family, anybody in that house was burnt to a crisp, and they haven't found Claire Better's thing yet. At this point, Feyre is upset and afraid, thinking that, oh my god, I gave that name to Rhysand. Rhysand went back to Amarantha or whoever. And he's the one who did all of this. Like, he was able to do the head thing. He was able to do
He's
all of,
heartless.
yeah, all these things. And like, I think he was also part of, I don't know if he specifically was a part of like the fairy that got his like rings whipped away from the summer court,
Right.
but
But
he was definitely,
Amarantha did it though.
yeah.
So like,
And yeah, so like one and the same at this point. um so like knowing the capability that they are of this, like she's starting to think like, shit, they can come across the like all these attacks that she's heard has been essentially them. And she finds out that like nowhere is safe.
and now she's even more like, again, back to that Gryffindor trait. Like she's like, oh my god, it's my fault that they have Claire. I have to go save her.
Yeah, that's
Like,
yeah.
but page 266, Nesta's rage at their father and how she like spends all the money because she doesn't want him to have it. And like, I, wow. Like that's such a real emotion. Like I would hate him too.
Mm-hmm. Like knowing exactly what like they went through. And I know I believe she feels guilt for what they had to go through too, because like she could have done something about it as well. And maybe not about it, but like something.
Yeah.
And I feel like Feyre only feels the guilt of that because she witnessed her father get the shit beat out of him. And I
Yes.
feel like maybe there's, I mean, other than some type of emotional trauma and maybe even mental health from that experience, but like maybe even shame.
Yeah.
And maybe because he's like already been at his lowest, he feels like he can't get better from there.
Right. Well, and like I just I don't mind Elaine, but I think she would get on my nerves. But other than that, like the only two books or two characters in these books, like main characters, not including Alice, because I really like Alice too, especially the more that starts to come out. But at this point, when I wrote this, Nesta and Lucian are the only two people in this book I think I could handle, like for any amount of time.
Wait until you get to A Court of Silver Flames.
Okay, well, we'll see here. But that's all I have for chapter 30.
Yeah.
Okay. So then chapter 31, finally, some of Feyre's like fight and her will to live are returning.
I also feel like, I know Tamlin has like great strength and all of that, and he's like powerful because he's a High Lord. But I kind of wonder if like his glamour, did it fail, or are like these people stronger than they're led on? Because from what my understanding is, if like they would believe the glamour through and through until they hear like that there's like concern, and which then they would be like frantic to leave, but still the glamour would stay. But as soon as they started talking, like Nesta started talking about it with Feyre, Elaine and her father were both like, oh, I remember everything.
Right.
Like, did it fail because like magic was horrible? Like, did something happen at the spring court at this time that just like stopped it all? Did the power get ripped from him like when he went under the mountain? Like, what happened?
Right.
Or are they actually stronger than they think they are, and they would actually be like very powerful, like people? If they were like fae, they would be very powerful, kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know, but yes.
That's really all I had for that one, other than Clear Better.
Yeah, and then I was like, what did she expect to happen when she gave a fake name? Like,
Right.
did she expect them to
Like,
just let them go? No.
do like a very generic name, like.
And then page 270, I was like, does she really think Nesta's gonna let her go back by herself? But then Nesta does, and I was like, whoa.
Nesta's like, get the fuck out of here. We don't like you.
And I was
We
like,
don't want you here.
She is letting her go. But then Feyre gives her all that important information, and like while they're talking about it, that's when Elaine is like, oh fuck, like I remember. But like, why does Elaine remember? And where the fuck is their father?
Right.
Why does he not come to say goodbye? Like, and then I'm like, is he too ashamed to come say goodbye? Like,
right. And at this point, I always thought like he wasn't actually there. I thought he was like away on a business trip, but no, he was there.
He was there. He just didn't come. And then like, I'm shocked that and maybe it's the depression like that she was under. But like, I'm shocked that it took this long for her to be like, I have to go back.
Right.
Because like, if I truly loved, like if Brittany was truly in this other area and I needed, and like she was in danger, I don't care. They would have dropped me off and I would have turned the fuck around and gone right back.
Honestly.
And then I said, when she first gets back to the spring court and everything's like fucked up, I'm like, is it a glamour?
Right? Like you know how like Loki did it when he like was like, oh, I don't care that my mother died, but really he's like destroyed everything in the background.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was like, is he like making it look like he's not there so she'll go back? Like, is he making it look like he's dead so she'll go back home?
Yeah, but I like that.
That was not the case.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Like, page 275, she's like really freaking out because like thinking Tamlin might be gone. And I'm just thinking, like, how did she fall in love with him? He appeared to be gone quite a bit. And like they didn't spend a lot of time together except for like towards the very end. And it's like I feel like it's like puppy love.
Yeah.
Like
attraction.
Did I just like completely forget a side of the story? Like, is there just something like I just didn't read into?
Mm-mm.
But like I just feel like she's just infatuated with him.
Yeah.
But there's no real love connection.
I feel like the only thing that really happened that like could have been a love connection, there was two things. One, when he showed her respect for holding her own against the Naga, and then two, when she helped with the fairy whose wings got torn off and like stayed with him until he died
and like showed empathy towards him. Yeah.
So, and then on page 276 after that, her tracking instincts start to kick back in. She's like, oh, okay, so like I need to follow these footsteps and this and this and this is happening.
Here's the thing though, I wrote something about this too. Like, where does she truly learn like scene detection? Because it's like detectives go through like years of training, and I mean that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to work as a detective and work as like a CSI person, and like the years of training and honing your skills of that, like
I feel like she learned it hunting, like tracking.
So like I get that, but like her years in the woods of tracking prey is one thing versus like coming upon a scene where there could have been a battle. Like there's blood everywhere. Like how do you know where the blood came from? Like did the blood drip in from this way? Did it drip in that way? Like I don't know. It was just like the years in the wood is one thing, surviving, but like this is a legitimate crime scene investigation thing that's happening here.
Yeah.
It's like, where did she learn that information?
Who knows? And then, so on page 277, Alice says, like, first of all, this hooded figure comes in and she's like, oh, fuck. And then it's Alice.
Right.
And she says, he told you not to come back. Yes. And when the fuck has Feyre ever listened? I don't understand why we're continually surprised by Feyre not listening to what she was told.
Like, come on. When we're learning about like the curse and like Amarantha, so like the blight is Amarantha, so we find this out, and then she's talking about Alice is saying like he had this many years, and it was like 7 times 7 years, and the first time I read this, I was like, what? 7 times 7? What the fuck kind of year is that? Like, huh? Like 7 years or like 7 months, 7 days? Like I I was just really like I must have been tripping. I was seriously I don't understand why the hell I struggled. I'm street smart. I'm apparently not book smart. But I was so confused. I was like 7 times 7. It wasn't until like the next chapter did she say 49 years, and then it hit me. I was
You're
like,
oh.
but wait, 7 times 7 isn't even 49.
Yeah.
That's 9 times 9, right?
No, I'm
Am I
pretty sure
stupid?
it's 7 times 7. Hold on, calculator. I'm pretty sure 7 times 7 is 49.
Isn't it like 72?
No.
Oh, 9 times 9 is 72.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
All right, I just solidified that I'm street smart only.
Yeah, okay, there.
Nope, I'm not.
Oh my gosh. So I was right. She, the mysterious she, who was Amarantha, was from Highburn. I was right.
Yeah.
Go me.
Man, if anyone watched the video, that they would be like, Emily, you're giving it away. Don't worry.
So I don't know if I'm pronouncing these right, but Jurian and Clithia? Jurian and
who?
Clithia?
Okay,
Clithia?
there's not that I'm aware of, at least. Like, I haven't found like anything like suggesting how they're spelled. But Jurian, I would assume, Jurian.
Right, Jurian and Clithia is how I'm gonna pronounce it.
I think I did Clithia.
Like, oh, like, ouch! Like, just the whole thing, like,
yeah, it's just absolutely insane. Like the way he treated her, and I'm like, fuck you, I'm gonna slowly kill you and rip you apart and let your sister find you.
Yeah, I just was like, whoa. I was
absolutely insane. Yeah.
Like, I feel like they're just solidifying like how horrible some of the High Fae can be to each other, like how cruel they can be.
Right. Well, and
no
it's like
reason.
I think Tamlin or Lucian made the comment like, well, when you live in an immortal life, like you gotta keep people on your toes. And I'm like, I can find a lot more things to do with my life than do any of this. Right. But I don't know. During this part in like 280, I just feel like they talk as if Tamlin's the strongest High Lord of them all, and I honestly feel like he's not. I think Rhys is, because he can literally get into your mind. That is terrifying.
So I feel like probably the reason that they say that now and why they think that right now is because Amarantha's so obsessed with him. So like if he were to like concede and agree to be with her or be her consort or whatever you want to call it, like
Amarantha's whore,
he would hold a lot of power in that, right? Like, but other than that, I agree. I feel like Rhysand's power is a lot more intimidating and stronger than,
because like you can be strong all you want, but like this is why women like win fights more often, because we attack the mind. We don't fight because we know that's not going to get anywhere. If you can like really get into their brain and fuck them up that way, like that's more powerful than anything.
Yes, that's
why it's terrifying to be a female.
So on page 281, I was like, so Amarantha is a jealous bitch. Really?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Like,
oh, hell yeah.
That's what this is all about. This whole blight and curse and all of that is because he didn't want you. Like,
you know, and that's sometimes people are like, well, that's why women shouldn't be in power. And it's like, okay, well, we have nonsense wars. Like, we can hold a grudge, but half the time we're going to be like better than that.
Right. Well, and just like
she's just taking it all out on because of what happened to her sister.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Don't fuck with her sister and it wouldn't have happened.
Right. Well, and then like I feel like that's where most of her cruelness and her pain is coming from. Mm-hmm. But then she's got, again, I don't understand what's wrong with Tamlin. Does he just have big dick energy or what? But like everybody is like all about Tamlin. And so she's like trying to force him to be with her, and if he's not going to, she's gonna throw a hissy fit and put a curse on the whole land. And just what?
Right. And here's the thing. So on page 286, Alice is being kind of a shithead to Feyre.
Yes,
and
she is.
I get it. Like, you're pissed off that she came back, but it's like, it's not her fault any of this happened.
It's not her fault she didn't say I love you in the first place. Like,
right. Because she's just like, you could have broken it. Alice snarled, those sharp teeth mere inches from my face. All you had to do was say that you loved him. Say that you loved him and mean it with your whole useless human heart. And his power would have been freed, you stupid, stupid girl. It's like, okay, you can be mad at her all you want, but like, it's not her fault. She didn't actually understand it. It's not her fault she was treated as a prisoner for the majority of the time she was there. Finally just giving this whole thing a shot, and then it being ripped from her. Like, she's trying to go through all of these like steps and go and just, I don't know, deal with it all at once, and you like expect her to be a-okay with saying love you like right off the bat like that. It's like they couldn't tell her. Like, you can be mad at the situation, but like you can't be mad at her.
It's
Yeah.
not, none of this is her fault.
Right.
Like, it is not her fault that this crazy bitch was like, you have to find a human who's willing to kill a fairy, knowing,
Right.
like, in cold blood, and then make her fall in love with you. Like, what?
Like,
that's
here's
wild.
the thing, it's barely even a year. Like, I think it's like 6 months that time has passed since
right.
she's been taken off this, essentially the street, and forced into the situation.
And like, before she got there, all she knew of fairies, especially high fae, was that they were evil and cruel and mean. Like, and all of a sudden she's supposed to fall in love with him and tell him that when he's
Right.
sending her away.
Yeah, no. Like, if you're sending me away, like, I have a feeling you don't like me, and like I'm not
gonna
say it.
embarrass myself by telling you I love you.
Right.
Like,
and if you love me, like, why are you sending me away?
with no protection? That's the thing I can't get past. He's sending her back with no protection. Like, even
I feel like if he sent protection, she might be like, oh, he really does care.
Right.
Like,
well, and like,
she's getting mixed messages here.
Right. Amarantha's all about killing her, and he knows that, she knows that, Lucian knows that, everybody fucking knows that. So him sending her back without protection is like a slap in the face.
Yeah, like, oh, I don't give a shit about you.
Like,
yeah,
especially knowing that Amarantha can cross the border, their walls. Right. Like, anywho.
I don't know. But here's another thing too. Like, I think this is where I think he only wanted her to free himself. Yes. Using her, if you will, like, never truly loving her, etc. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't really know. But like, enslaving her went against his morals. So, but like, he essentially did that.
Yeah.
But he still kept her around, and I think it's just because he was using her. Yeah. That's why I've been saying this the whole time.
Yes. And like, things are finally starting to get good at the end of this chapter, and I wrote that down at the end of this chapter, and that's all I have for chapter 32.
I got one more. So page 289. What is it? Oh, so Alice is like exasperated, kind of done, like getting ready to leave and go back to wherever she's going. And she goes, no. Alice slung her satchel over her shoulder. Go home. I'll take you as far as the wall. There's not to be done now. Tamlin will remain her slave forever, and Prythian will stay under her rule. That's what fate dealt, and that was what the eddies of the culture decided. And Feyre goes, I don't believe in fate, nor do I believe in some ridiculous cauldron. Bitch, you are human. You are not immortal. These are immortal beings. They probably were around when the makers of the cauldron came. Like, they believe in something, and they're immortal people. Like, you should probably believe in that. Like, you are 19 at this point.
But also, she's like hard-headed and
Gryffindor.
Yes.
Ugh. Anyways, that's all I had. I did.
Chapter 33 was really short. Listen to what you hear, is what Alice tells her.
I hear a lot of shit. That doesn't mean they're real.
But then, not only does Alice say that, listen to what you hear, but then instead of listening to Alice's advice, Feyre's like, I'm supposed to pay attention to what I hear and not believe what I hear. No, that's not what she said at all. She said, listen to what you hear. You hard-headed dumbass. I can't even with Feyre. And then at the very end, the adder grabs her, and it's just like, there's another secret. Like, you don't actually know everything about the curse. There's one part that I can't tell you. Just, what?
Right? I don't know. And here's the thing too. So on like 290, she's like sitting there thinking about like the cereal. This where I was going to say this earlier. Say stay with the High Lord. Well, there's several. One of the cereal was saying like stay with a different High Lord. Ooh. Like, does he mean like?
Does he talking about Tamlin?
Right, and that's the one thing I like never understood. So like he comes back later on in the story, but like does he actually is he like fate where he says one thing and it's true now, but then like the next day something different could happen and then that changes his? So like maybe one day he's talking about like stay with the High Lord, stay with Tamlin, but the next day he's talking about like the Summer Court High Lord. Like are his sayings long term or like short term? Like,
or is he just being like he's saying stay with the High Lord,
but that doesn't mean Tamlin,
right? Is he talking about Tamlin? Because there's multiple High Lords, right? Like,
yeah, so, there's like what, 7?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that kind of confused me because I was like,
Also, I feel like I skipped something in here somewhere because I thought I wrote down something about a new theory. And I never said anything about it, did I?
No, but I can go ahead and go with my next point.
Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, page 292, it talks about like there's like another like big secret. I honestly don't know if that ever comes out, and if it does, I don't remember it. So I'm like wondering what the big secret is that she can't tell. Because like if the what is it called? If the magic's broken, and so she can tell if she can tell about what's happening and what's going on, like then what's the big secret? If the magic is broken to where she can say who Amarantha is, or all of that crap, like what exactly is this big secret that's hurting her? I don't know.
I don't know either.
That kind of threw me for a loop. So now I'm going to be on the lookout for that, and I'm going to be assuming every single thing I read is a secret.
Where did I write
Unless she knows,
that?
like, maybe something that's going to happen if this person comes. Like, maybe she knows that it's, I don't know, something. But
so I know I wrote something about a new theory in here somewhere, and now I can't find it. And I even remember starring it, like, so I would definitely remember to talk about it. And now I'm getting pissy because I can't find it. But so when she first gets back to
the human world, or
the human
Prythian?
world, the human world, she's like, ooh, look at me, like I'm glowing and all of this, and like, so was just being in Prythian for a certain amount of time and being close to the magic, like, and all of that, like, is she absorbing the magic? Is she becoming fae? Like,
and that kind of brings up a good point about like whether or not like the food is it like magic inspired,
right? And then is that why everything tastes like ash when she gets back to the human world? Where the fuck did I write that? I know I wrote it because I put stars by it.
I had another one for this. So page 293, Feyre talks, or maybe it's Feyre, I don't know. There was a section, where is it? Yeah, 293. Oh, she talks about like being as quiet as a cat, or quiet, like walking like quiet as cats or something like that. And
oh, here it is. Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
All I can say is that like I can't say all cats are gonna be quiet because my cat walks to the room and she's like, listen to my presence and loud and clear, and like she is loud, proud, and in charge, and there is no quiet as cats in my household. Like that is not a thing. So if that is the case here, then she's being loud as fuck. Oh, there it is. The passage was definitely quiet, but I remembered Alice's warning and didn't trust my ears not when fairies could be silent as cats. Yeah, okay. So
yeah, but that's what I was talking about too. She didn't trust her ears. That's exactly the opposite of what Alice fucking said, first of all. Second of all, I found it. It was not when she first got back to the human world. It's when she comes down the stairs before the summer solstice and she's all like dressed up and stuff. And Lucian says she looks, my God, she looks fae. Or something like that. Oh. So my new theory was that the blight was turning her fae. Now I'm wondering if it wasn't just being in Prythian in general and being
like magic in the air.
Yeah, and being with the magic in the air and eating the food that was magicked into being, like
maybe.
Or if it was like the I don't know, the connection between I don't know, but that's what I had wrote. That's all I had for chapter 33 as well.
So chapter 33 ends with long bony fingers wrapped around my arm and I went rigid. A pointed, leathery gray face came into view and its silver fangs glistened as it smiled at me. Hello, it hissed. What's something like you doing here? I knew that voice that still haunted my nightmares, so it was all I could do to keep from screaming as its bat-like ears cocked, and I realized that I stood before the Ator. Da-da-da! Da-da-da! Ah! We're going under the mountain!
Yes, we are!
Every single time I hear, like, what the Ator looks like, or, like, read about how he looks, you know, you ever seen, like, what is it called? Hotel Transylvania 2?
Oh my gosh.
Like the bat figures
Yes.
of Grandpa Vlad. Yeah, that's all I can
Yes.
think of.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
And that's how he actually looks. If you look up the fandom or the like wiki page that the fandom makes, or like someone actually drew that. I don't know if it's like canon, like
Right, if it's
SJM
just
like
fan
said
art.
yes, that's true, or if it's fan art, because but that's anytime I think of the Ator, I think of like the computerized
amazing.
whatever. Yeah. So
now that we're at the end of chapter 33, I just realized we did not take a break this time.
no.
Sorry about that, guys.
Our break could be talking about our like political anything and everything.
That was our break today. Random political.
Very good.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So we are going to finish the book.
We only got like 13 chapters left, so and we usually read 8, so might as well just go ahead for it. Plus, not that they're all going to be like super short, but it's definitely going to pick up, so we'll be able to read it faster. So,
yes.
So if you're reading along, be prepared to finish A Court of Thorns and Roses with us.
Yes, we're going to read chapters 34 through 46 for next week. And then we will have a kind of filler episode, palette cleanser before we start the next book. Woo! And yeah, just woo woo. We're excited. We hope you're excited.
Thanks for listening.
Follow our socials. Find us on Patreon if you want us to keep putting out great content.
Yeah, because this is expensive in a way.
Yeah, it's an expensive hobby to have, but here we are.
Woo! All right, have a good one, guys. Thanks for listening.